Hey, good morning, everybody. How is everybody's morning going? Did anybody watch the national championship football game last night? It was such a good game. I don't know if I'm talking to football fans or not, but it was actually a fantastic, amazing championship game, unlike any that I've probably ever seen before. But I wanted to thank everybody for being on this morning. I appreciate, and as you guys tune into this live, if you wouldn't mind, drop your location. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm always curious where people are located. Let me make sure that this is not overly. And so I'm excited to get on this morning, and I hope and pray that what I share with you helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I made. But how many of you watched that game yesterday? Do I have any Miami or Indiana fans on here? Any of you that may have watched it? Are there people on here that don't even know that there was a game? So thank you for being on this morning. I love getting on here, and I love providing knowledge and information, right? I'm going to be talking about something that affects over 90% of adults, and most people don't even know that they have it. But before we jump in, tell me where you're tuning in from. Okay, drop your city or state in the chat, or country. I know that we've got people literally all over the world that come on these lives. And folks, if your health hasn't been where you want it to be, stay with me, because this could be one of the most important conversations that you hear this year. And I feel confident about that. And if you know somebody who's struggling, hey, go ahead and share this live so they can jump in, they can listen, they can ask questions too. So I want to share something personal with you, and I pray that it helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I made. You know, Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. And gaining understanding around how the body actually works, it completely changed my life. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share this with you. You know, for most of my life, I was dealing with these symptoms. I had migraines for 23 years. I had acid reflux. I had brain fog, anxiety, depression, sleep apnea. I had weight that I couldn't lose. And on top of that, I had donated a kidney to my brother-in-law back in November of 2014. And it was 7 years later when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. And my nephrologist said, Troy, if you don't lose weight, if you don't change your diet, you're going to end up on dialysis or worse. And I'm not going to lie, that kind of scared me, because I've always been relatively healthy. But most of my life, I dealt with this. And no one ever explained the real connection between what I was dealing with. And what I eventually learned was something called insulin resistance. It is a metabolic condition that is now incredibly common. It's associated with things like weight struggles, blood sugar issues, okay, hormone imbalances, cardiovascular risk. And the shocking part is that most people are never directly tested for it, and they don't even know it's present. That's the scary part. Insulin resistance is scary because you don't know that you have it until you do. Now, I've had some close calls with my health, being told that I had stage 4 kidney disease, and I was told that if I didn't make changes, I would end up on dialysis or worse. That was my wake-up call. And once I finally understood what was happening metabolically, Joey, good morning, everything started to make sense. And over the past 2 years, I have been able to improve my health in ways that didn't rely on meds, diets, or crazy exercises. And over the past year, I have focused on improving my insulin sensitivity. And because of that, my energy, my labs, quality of life changed in ways that I didn't expect. That's why I do these lives. Not to scare people, but to give them information that I wish that I had earlier. So that's my hope. That's the reason why I get on here. Okay. Home Slice, how you doing, brother? Here's something that actually surprised me. When people go to the doctor and your cholesterol is elevated, what's interesting is that medication is often discussed first. There are millions of people all over the world, but millions of Americans on lipid-lowering medications. And for many people, they're helpful and maybe they're even necessary, but what most people aren't told is that nutrition and metabolic health play a major role too. Savannah, thank you for being on. And so one of the most interesting things that I came across was a clinical study that was conducted with support from the Cleveland Clinic. Leland, good morning. The Cleveland Clinic is the #1 heart hospital in the world, and they are in Cleveland, Ohio, right? And what they did is the Cleveland Clinic took 119 hyperlipidemia patients, okay? And they gave half this blend of fiber matrix, and they gave the other half a placebo. And they had everybody stop everything, right? Because they wanted to find out if this truly worked. And in a group of participants, researchers observed improvements in LDL, cholesterol, meaning that went down, apolipoprotein B, both important cardiovascular markers improved, HDL improved, right? HDL went up, LDL went down, A1C went down, triglycerides went down. And the conclusion from the study was that this type of nutritional approach, when used consistently, may actually help cardiovascular health at a population level. That's actually their concluding statement from the study, is that if people were to use this on a regular basis, it would decrease cardiovascular disease on a population basis and decrease the need for lipid-lowering prescription meds. Folks, this is why I do these lives. And so, one of the physicians, one of the doctors actually that was involved made a very powerful point, especially saying that when we have solid evidence, right, when you have proof, people deserve to be informed of their options. Not instead of medical care, okay, but in addition to it. Because informed patients make better decisions. Folks, let me ask you this. We know that 93% of Americans struggle with metabolic health. It's called insulin resistance. TJ, thank you. So I want to ask you guys a question. If you had a solution to the problem of insulin resistance that could help people with skin issues and high blood pressure and cholesterol, it can help people with diabetes or weight issues, kidney issues, autoimmune issues like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's. If you had a solution to the problem of insulin resistance, whose life would you share this with? Thank you, TJ, for being on. I appreciate that. What I'm talking about is insulin resistance and why we have it, and most importantly, what we can do to fix it. But I'm just curious, right? If you had a proof of a solution, if you had the solution to this problem, would you let people know about it or would you hide it? And here's why this conversation matters. Because in the United States, over 90% of adults are metabolically unhealthy. Think about this. We've got over 150 people in this live right now. So if you have let's just say that you and I are in a classroom, okay? And let's say that there's 100 people in our class. 7 students are going to pass that class, but 93 every year are going to fail. How many of you are signing up for that class? Not me. Probably not me. I don't want to sign up for a class that, 93% of the people are failing. I mean, I'd probably sign up just for the challenge of it. But I'm making a point here that 7 out of 100 students are passing, 93 are not. More people today around us are affected by these health issues. And here's the biggest problem, is that far too often we are just throwing medications at our symptoms without teaching and understanding what the root cause is. See, I want you to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in your body. Just like how the smoke signals that there is a fire. All of these symptoms that you and I deal with, skin tags, psoriasis, eczema, adult acne, high blood pressure, cholesterol, migraines, headaches, neuropathy, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, right? All of these things are symptoms. That is the smoke to your fire. And we can either put that fire out and the smoke will fade away, or we just keep spraying water on the smoke and that fire just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You guys realize, and this is true, insulin resistance can take 10 to 20 years before it leads to a diabetes diagnosis. Did you know that? So your health, that you can have insulin resistance for 10 to 20 years before it actually even leads to a diabetes diagnosis. So this fire has been burning for a long time. And most people don't know that they have it until it's too late. Folks, we are starting to see these issues show up earlier in kids and teens. This isn't a personal failure. This is a metabolic environment problem. You notice how the Bible tells us that no good tree bears bad fruit, right? The fruit is the high cholesterol. The fruit is your tiredness, your cravings, your blood pressure, your blood sugar issues, your hormone problems, right? That's the fruit. The root itself very often is insulin resistance. And if we never address the root, the fruit is going to keep coming. Does that make sense? I try and share the root fruit analogy because it tries, think of a tree, right? You've got deep roots, and that root is insulin resistance. It's kind of like an iceberg, right? You're only seeing the very tip of the iceberg. You don't see the enormous bottom. And so if all we're doing is treating what's on top, you never address what's underneath the water. Now, as I'm talking, I want you guys to think about your own health. Drop a 1 in the chat if your energy or weight has been a struggle for you. If cholesterol or blood pressure has been a struggle for you, put a number 2 in the chat. And if your blood sugar and cravings or energy crashes are what you struggle with, put a 3 in the chat. It helps me to know how many people. And if you don't remember 1, 2, or 3, just put me if you're struggling with health issues. First and foremost, you're not alone. And you're not broken. Thank you, TJ. You're not broken. Today, this morning, I'm going to walk you through 2 simple foundations that support insulin sensitivity. And I'm going to share a nutritional tool that has helped people literally around the world. Jiwanma, thank you. I'm going to share a nutritional tool that is literally helping people all over the globe. So stick with me, ask questions, and let's learn together, okay? Now, let's talk about insulin. And 060, thank you for the follow, okay? Let's talk about insulin. I want you to know insulin is not your friend. It's not your friend. It's your enemy, okay? But it's not your friend, okay? Technically, it's not really your enemy, but it's certainly not your friend. And here's why. Insulin is a hormone that plays a critical role in how our bodies use energy from the food that you and I eat. When you and I eat, that food is converted into a simple sugar that goes into your bloodstream. It's called glucose. It's called blood sugar. And when this happens, when you spike your blood sugar, your pancreas, your body releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is the gatekeeper to your cells, okay? It's what unlocks your cells and allows the glucose to enter in. Your body uses it for energy, okay? But I want you to understand something. There's only 2 stages of your life, okay? There's only 2 stages of life where you actually want to be insulin resistant, right? These are 2 natural stages of life, right? Where a temporary level of insulin resistance is actually helpful, and that's puberty and pregnancy. Because the body's prioritizing growth, right? Your body's growing during these stages. Outside of that, folks, chronically elevated insulin becomes a very serious problem. Jim Rad, I agree. 100%. I agree. So here's the problem. When insulin stays high for elevated times, right? It's staying high for a long period of time. What happens is that your cells stop responding to it the way that they should. And the body then compensates by producing more insulin to try and get the same job done. And this condition is known as insulin resistance. And it is far more common than most people realize. And over time, this cycle literally, it places stress on the body, and it contributes to a wide range of health challenges. Okay? Now, right now, more than half of the adults in the United States, actually adults and kids, are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And nearly 3 out of 4 adults right here in America are overweight or obese. Folks, rates of cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions, fertility, and metabolic dysfunction, it continues to skyrocket. And those challenges aren't just limited to physical health, right? It's also been associated with fatigue and brain fog and anxiety and depression and mood changes. Which, by the way, affects quality of life in powerful ways. And far too often, we are just throwing medications at our symptoms without fixing the root cause. Folks, you could be on 100 meds, and you're not going to fix insulin resistance because all we're doing is treating the symptoms. We've got to address it at the root. And what makes this really frustrating is that these symptoms that you and I have, right, they are often treated separately. Someone may receive a medication for blood pressure. Someone may receive another for cholesterol and another for blood sugar without ever addressing what is actually driving all of these things together. So when we only manage the symptoms, the root issue often remains unaddressed, right? And remember the tree with the fruit, right? If we don't fix the root, that fruit's going to continue to come back. It's like a weed. You might trim the top, but that weed's going to keep coming back until you fix the root. Right? The Bible tells us that a good tree cannot bear bad fruit. But look at our trees, right? Look at the branches. Look at what's on the branches: skin issues, blood pressure, cholesterol issues, and a laundry list of medications. Folks, if all we're doing is treating the symptoms, you're just, I can't imagine living. I'm 47 years old, and I can't imagine living till 100 being on medications. You know, we are living longer, but it's not just about longevity. It's about how good we feel as we age. Aging does not have to mean a slowing metabolism, right? Many people experience warning signs of insulin resistance long before they are ever diagnosed with diabetes. And I've mentioned a few of those symptoms, right, that we have: skin tags, dark patches on your neck or your armpits, joint pain, chronic inflammation, right? These symptoms aren't personal failures, but they are signals from your body that something deeper is going on. And it usually is insulin resistance, right? How many of you know what type 3 diabetes is? And if you don't know, it's okay. I didn't know it either. Thank you, Jackie, for being on, right? Type 3 diabetes is insulin resistance of the brain of an adult, right? Too much sugar in the brain of a child leads to ADHD. Too much sugar in the brain of an adult leads to Alzheimer's, dementia. Too much sugar in your joints leads to arthritis in your teeth, cavities, in your eyes, glaucoma, in your feet and fingers, neuropathy, right? You guys understand where I'm going with this, right? My 84-year-old mom, she lives in a memory care facility in Tennessee. And it sucks that I don't get to see her as often, and it's frustrating even more that her health is deteriorating. It's so like she's struggling with her health more than ever. And one of the biggest challenges that I think is that insulin resistance is something that is rarely ever tested by a doctor. Right? When you go to your doctor, how many of you can relate to this, right? Your doctor tells you that your labs look normal, but you don't feel normal. You feel off. You're sick, right? Insulin resistance is, continues silently in the background. And by the time someone is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance has been burning for a long time, for many years. The good news is that this process is modifiable. Now, I want you guys to understand this conversation is not about avoiding doctors. Work with your doctors, okay? Or medications. I'm not anti-doctor. I'm not anti-medication either. I am anti-ignoring the root cause. We should not ignore the root cause. It's about supporting how the body, right? Supporting our body, how it works, but most importantly, right, alongside what we might already be doing now. Now, some of you might be doing some things and it might not be working for you. And that's where I come in. So if you are dealing with any of these things, you're not alone. Okay? Many people are walking this path without ever being given the full picture. And once you understand how insulin works inside your body, I know you are. Thank you for the follow. Once you understand how insulin works in your body and how insulin resistance develops over time, you can actually begin to connect the dots and actually take meaningful steps towards better metabolic health. This is why I get on here and I do these lives. The biggest health crisis in the world today is insulin resistance. Diane, thank you so much for the follow. Right? The biggest health crisis in the world is not just our economy. It is insulin resistance. And here's the part that no one wants to tell you. Okay? Here's the part that no one wants to tell you. If I walk into a doctor's office And let's say that I have migraines, okay? Let's say that I have migraines, I have IBS, and I have cholesterol issues. And let's just say that because I'm being an advocate for myself, I'm going to 3 different doctors. And let's just say that I go to these 3 different doctors. I'm going to pay 3 different copays. And by the way, you're walking out with at least 2 to 3 different medications, and not one of them even touches the real root cause of your health issues. All they're doing is managing the numbers, the symptoms. But the moment you come off those meds, folks, what do you think happens? What do you think happens? Right? Folks, this is why I get on here every single day. I love sharing this with people. I wish I knew this information 20 years ago. My brother would still be here. My dad potentially would still be here as well. My dad passed away on Easter Sunday, 2017. I miss my dad. This is why I get on here every day. And I know some of you have never met me before. You don't know who I am. You probably think that I'm just talking about some other supplement that doesn't work. But I'm actually a man of faith, and I am somebody that believes that God puts people in the right place at the right time. And I'm so grateful for my friend, who I've known her and her husband for 16, 17 years. And it was actually December of 2023 that she reached out to me and said, "You need to look into this." I didn't know what it was. In fact, she didn't even know that I had 2.5 years earlier had been diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. She had no idea. And it wasn't until I learned about this and actually used it that it's made the biggest impact. Now, there's things that you can do on your own, right? There's 2 things that I teach people every single day: fasting and fiber. And the third thing is having the right tools, which is this is what I use every day. Now, let's talk about fasting for a second. Okay? Fasting is the quickest way to start getting your insulin under control. It's the quickest way to regulate it. And when you fast, what you're doing is you're going longer periods of time without putting food or calories or drinks into your mouth, except water, black coffee, or this chlorogenic tea, right? If you're new to fasting, I always tell people start out with 12 to 13 hours, right? You can use your sleep time as part of your fast, right? If I sleep from 6 or 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., I've already fasted for 8 hours. Can you push that, right? What I would encourage people is to stop eating 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, right? When you do that, it helps you to, right? It gives your body the ability to really heal itself while you're sleeping. It allows your insulin levels to come down, your blood sugar levels to come down, right? It just gives your body the opportunity to start healing itself. And when you avoid food, right, you go longer periods of time, you're avoiding the glucose spikes, which means that your body doesn't have to release any insulin. And if there's any diabetics that are on here, you understand the importance of that, right? You understand the importance of lowering blood sugar levels as well as insulin. Folks, I have seen people modify and improve and reverse type 2 diabetes. I've seen it every day. I've seen hundreds of people reverse type 2 diabetes. It's reversible because insulin resistance is reversible. Insulin resistance is not a life, right? If you've ever been told that diabetes is a lifetime disease, it's not. Or a life sentence, it's not. It really is not. You can improve it. And if there's anything that you get from this live, that should give you hope right there. You know, when you go to a doctor, because far too often, most people are treating the symptoms instead of fixing the root cause. But here's the reality. Most doctors, they will test what they can medicate. Does that make sense? There's two tests in human beings that doctors won't test: inflammation and fasting insulin. You guys realize that when you go to your doctor is always checking your glucose levels. And your glucose levels can look normal every day. You know what's interesting is that the one of the tests that they don't test is your insulin, which is what's controlling your blood sugar. Isn't that interesting? They'll check your blood sugar levels, but not fasting insulin. This is why it's important to be an advocate for yourself. And somebody asked, well, they're not on this slide. Oh, Susie, how do you reverse it? Okay. Well, what I do is I encourage of go longer periods of time, skip a meal. How many of us were taught or told to eat 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day, right? We were told to have these small meals because it keeps our metabolism high. You guys realize that that advice is why 93% of Americans are sick. If you're eating 3 meals a day and you're snacking 2 to 3 to 4 times a day, your insulin is always going to be high. Folks, look, go back 200 years ago. Your ancestors were lucky to get 1 meal a day, maybe 2. We didn't need 3 meals a day, and we certainly don't need to snack like we're toddlers, but we've become a society where we eat all the time, right, Mimi? I mean, think about this. How many of you were told to move more and eat less, right? Folks, I want you to understand, it's not about eating less food at all. It is about eating less frequent. When you skip a meal, by the way, you will save money. You will save money on your coffee that you're not, going to Starbucks every day. You'll save money when you're not snacking throughout the day, and you'll certainly save more than $5 when you skip a meal. You're not starving, I promise. Your body will actually thank you when you start doing this, right? And what I'm sipping on, United, happens to be a natural form of that. It's a natural metformin. It's a natural Ozempic. So when you go longer periods of time, not only will you save money, but your energy levels will go up, the brain fog goes away, your mental clarity improves. And so somebody asked, what is it that I'm drinking? I'm drinking a chlorogenic acid tea that is loaded with chlorogenic acid and theobromine. Mimi808, she said that tea is everything and so worth it. United, type 2 diabetes, right? 54% of the American population is diabetic or type 2. Raymond, you were on my live yesterday, brother. I hope that you're able to, I sent you a message. Folks, if you are looking to improve your health naturally, but here's the problem, United. I want any one of you that's on any one of those meds, go look up the side effects. Go look up the side effects to the medications and see what it's really doing to your liver and your heart and your kidney. What I love about the chlorogenic tea that I'm sipping on is it does the exact same thing as your GLP-1 meds, your metformin. It does the exact same thing to the meds that your guys are taking, but there's no side effects. There's no contraindication. And by the way, it's guaranteed to work. This tea literally help, and I'm not a tea drinker. I don't like the taste of tea. This, I freaking love it. I mean, I can't get enough of this. I literally, from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed, I'm sipping on this because I love it. It allows me to go longer periods of time without even thinking about food, right? Mimi says I can never do fasting, and this tea helps with the food noise, better digestion, and it's yummy. And Susie, if you go and watch my 3 pinned videos, I walk you through all of this. And I've also pinned a form here, folks, that if you need to connect, I'm happy to connect. Folks, the frustrating part is there are more people today on meds than anything else. You can actually, honestly, by fasting, By how many of you remember Rexall drugs? Is there anybody on here that's old enough to remember Rexall? Some of you may have even had cousins, aunts, uncles that actually used to work for Rexall. I want to share something special about Rexall. If you've never heard of Rexall, Rexall started in 1903. Okay, 1903. And what's interesting is that the scientists and doctors of Rexall created a blend of fiber matrix. They created this back in the late 80s, early 90s. And the reason why they did it was for two reasons. One, because our food, right? Think about the food industry, right? They take fiber out of our food. You actually need fiber, folks. Okay. But the other reason why they created this was because they wanted to eradicate heart disease naturally. You guys realize that heart disease is the #1 killer in the world? And do you guys realize that it is caused by insulin resistance? And all we're doing, folks, I'm being honest, all we're doing is throwing medications at this. United, what I use every single day, this is what I use every day. I wake up in the morning, I sip on this first thing in the morning, I sip on the second one after lunch, and I take this right before my biggest meal, and it's $5 a day. It's $159 a month. It's less than what I spend at Starbucks or Dutch Bros. Folks, I know that it's January, right? A lot of us make New Year's resolutions, and part of those New Year's resolutions are getting our health where we want it to be. But it doesn't have to be that hard, right? Folks, what I love about this is that I actually go to the gym less now than I did when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. And I'm not saying to go to the gym less, but my schedule has been all over the place that I haven't been able to. But I sleep better than I ever have. I've lost 32 pounds. My migraine headaches that I had for 23 years went away in the very first week of using this. After 5 months of being on it, when I went back to my nephrologist, my kidney doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And here's the other thing. This is actually listed in the physician's desk reference, the PDR. And folks, if you want what it is that I'm using, I'm happy to share it with you. And if you don't, that's okay too. I'm not here to convince people. But what I can tell you is that if you are open and willing to try it, it comes with a 90-day happiness guarantee. If you use it, folks, and over the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're like, I don't like this, Troy lied to me, you literally get all of your money back. How many of you can tell me that the medications you're on have no side effects and they come with a 90-day money back guarantee? Doesn't exist. Folks, I want you to understand that this is actually clinically proven. It is listed in the physician's desk reference. Doctors can actually look this up. They can see all of the clinical studies that were done by the #1 heart hospital in the world, the Cleveland Clinic. It was studied by Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, right? How many of you recognize UNLV and UCLA? And I want to recommend a couple books to you, okay? And this Dr. Benjamin Bickman happens to be, okay, he is the leading scientist in the world, but Why We Get Sick is written by Dr. Benjamin Bickman, okay? He calls it the silent epidemic. And then this doctor, Dr. Robert Lustig, who wrote the book Metabolical, okay, he is a nutrition genius. And he said actually that the #1 fast food restaurant in the world is not what you think it is. We all think it's McDonald's, right? But he said it's our public schools food system, right? Think about what our kids are eating every day, right? Folks, I don't expect you to believe everything that I'm saying. But what I can tell you is that it has actually been a lifesaver in helping to improve my health, to help me to get off the meds that, quite honestly, I didn't want to be on at all. Seriously, I did not want to be on any of this. And I'm so grateful that I have been able to improve my health. My stage 4 kidney disease is gone. I love that. And, I don't know if, they don't get to the root. Mimi, you're absolutely right. Okay. And I want to, let's see if can I add this? Let's see here. Hmm. Thought I'd be able to add some, oh, here. And by the way, there is actually something, I don't know if you guys, you may have seen um, my video that I did, but I don't know if any of you have ever seen this or used this or experienced what, you know, this is another personal tool that I use, right? Think about insulin resistance, right? One of the biggest struggles that I see with people outside of metabolic health is breathing. Okay. How many of you struggle with breathing? How many of you are nose breathers, or how many of you breathe from your mouth, right? I have allergies that can be bad. Oh my gosh. And there's something else that I use, right? And one of the biggest things that I see with people, right, is that their nervous system is always turned on. They're mouth breathing, they're congested, they're tired, they're wired, and their body literally never fully relaxes. And so when you're stuck in that mode, right, when you're stuck in that stress state, your cortisol rate stays elevated. Okay, it stays. And what happens is that elevated cortisol makes it really harder for your body to start managing your glucose, which is one of the reasons why we have these and we struggle with these health issues, right? So even when people are trying to eat better, their body still feels like it's in survival mode, right? And right, your nose, and thank you, Mimi. Your nose is actually designed to filter air, right? It helps to warm the air. And what it does is it slows your breathing. And so if you've never used these, this is actually, I take this everywhere just because my allergies, and it's absolutely amazing. But slow nasal breathing signals safety, right? It's telling your nervous system it's safe. And that calm state is where healing and recovery and metabolic balance can actually start to happen, right? Which ties into metabolic health. When we think about all of the health issues, and again, and by the way, I love this because I love essential oils, right? This is not a medication, right? And that's why I like it. I don't like using meds. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing, right? And so if you've never used this, I actually have, it's funny because I have the mint over there, I have the lavender, I have the multi, but it works in helping to improve your breathing, which plays a vital role, right? It's just essential oils that actually help stimulate your nasal passages. And right, this is not about fixing anything, right? It's just about helping your body to switch back into nasal breathing, right? Instead of breathing through your mouth, right? And when you can do that, it plays a vital role. Now, why is this so important overall? Because this is the same reason why I teach intermittent fasting, why I talk about fiber, why I talk about being mindful of what's actually going on inside of our bodies. Because when we know what's going inside of our bodies, guess what? We can address it, we can fix it, we can tackle it. Folks, if you're trying to, let's say that you live in Virginia and I blindfold you and I drop you off in Omaha, Nebraska, but you're trying to get to Orlando to go to Disney World. If you don't know where you're at, how are you going to get there if I don't tell you? You guys understand that when we go to a doctor's, and again, I'm not anti-doctor. I have family members who are doctors, right? They have the potential to save our lives. But you know what's interesting is that, right, they talk to you sometimes in a language that you don't understand. And so you feel like you're obligated to listen to everything that they're saying. But I want you guys to understand, if there's anything that you get from what I shared this morning, is that you can improve your health naturally without the need for meds or diets or crazy exercises. You don't have to go and spend 2 days at the gym. And I love this. I don't go anywhere without this. There are people that are always asking me about this because it works. And folks, I want you guys to understand that I wish I knew this 20 years ago. And, you know, I love when I have the opportunity to share this with somebody that didn't even know that this existed. In fact, most doctors, believe it or not, they don't even know that this exists. Because far too often what we do is we throw meds at our symptoms without ever addressing the root cause. I'm living proof that you can have stage 4 kidney disease. Right? What if there was a solution to the problem? Well, folks, we have that solution to the problem. A protocol that has more than 24 patents on it, or clinical studies. There's 5 patents, 6 patents on this now. We've got clinical studies from the Cleveland Clinic, the University of Sydney in Australia. If you know anything about the University of Sydney, they are the blood sugar experts of the world. Right? They created the glycemic index, the glycemic load. BYU, Stanford, UCLA, UNLV, all of these things, right? This was created by Rexall back in the late 80s. In fact, they said it was going to change the world. And folks, it really is changing the world, one person at a time. I'm on a mission to help 1 million families, 1 million people get their health back. I need your help. Right? There's such a huge need for what we do and not enough people. You might be seeing a lot of people, but folks, we can't even touch 1% of the people. We need more people. And I'm looking, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're somebody that is passionate about helping people, you know, my career, I wanted to become a police officer. My degree is in psychology and criminal justice, and I wanted to become a police officer. That's what I thought God was driving me to do. And I didn't realize that, you know, I feel like I make more of an impact doing this than I ever would if I ever had become a police officer. If I showed you how many text messages I get from people all over the world that have taken a leap of faith and ordered this and used it, right? And for those of you that want what it is that I use, it's an absolute game changer. It comes with a 90-day happiness guarantee. If it doesn't work, folks, I will personally help you get your money back. This is not about getting a sale. It has nothing to do with that. It's about sharing something that legitimately is making a difference in people's health. You know, the first is a tea that's made from the yerba mate plant that's found in South America. And by the way, this actually chlorogenic tea actually boosts your body's own production of natural GLP-1 by up to 70%, which is more than what the medications do, by the way. It helps to reduce cravings. It literally shuts the food noise off. It improves mental clarity. It supports intermittent fasting. It's not a drug. It has no side effects. There's no contraindications. And then the second step is the fiber matrix that was created by Rexall. And what it does is it helps to control your blood sugar spike, your insulin spikes. It reduces and slows down the digestion, right? It balances your cholesterol. It supports weight management. And by the way, both of these are listed in the physician's desk reference. This is where doctors prescribe from. And here's how I use it. When I wake up, I skip breakfast. And I sip on this. And I sip on it every 5 to 10 minutes. And, you know, I take it everywhere I go. People are always asking me what it is that I'm drinking. It tastes absolutely amazing. And if I'm hungry around lunchtime, I'll have lunch. Oftentimes, if we feel hungry, it's just because we're dehydrated. So just drink more water, right? Especially if you're trying to extend your fast. When you fast for 24 hours, you reset your gut. When you fast for 72 hours, you reset your entire immune system. Your body has two fuel sources. You're either burning sugar from the foods that you're eating, or you're burning your stored fat. And what happens is that your body will literally start to convert that stored fat, and your body will literally use that for fuel. It's powerful, right? Your body will literally use that for fuel. It's powerful. And folks, I am living proof that you can improve your health in ways that don't need meds or diets or anything like that. And if there's anything, if this resonates with you, if this sounds like what you've been looking for, you don't have to wait. So you can drink water. Okay, you can drink black coffee as long as there's no creams or sugars, right? Because once you do that, you technically break your fast. This tea, this fiber, neither one of these breaks your fast, okay? Which is absolutely amazing. So I literally utilize this every single day. It has been the greatest blessing that has ever come into my life. And I'm so grateful that my friend cared enough about me to share this with me. All she did was invite me to try it. That was it. I made the decision to, because I'm like, it comes with a 90-day guarantee. What do I have to lose by trying it? I'm spending far more than $5 when I go to Starbucks or Dutch Bros. I'm spending far more than $5 on a meal. I can afford to skip a meal, right? I'm saving that money anyways, and I'm investing it back into my health. Folks, 90 days is all it takes for you to, and you're going to notice a difference day one, right? In your energy levels, the brain fog, the mental clarity. Folks, if this resonates with you, if this sounds like what you've been praying for, looking for, you don't have to wait. Okay, I absolutely love this. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I had to share this with you. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you for hopping on this live, for sharing this, right? I love talking to people about this. And I'm so grateful for knowledge. Knowledge is power. I wish, excuse me, I wish that somebody would have shared this with me 20 years ago. Right? I know that we're not intended to live forever. I know that. But I also recognize that we don't have to struggle with this. And you don't, right? You don't have to wait to fix your health. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have a twin sister in Utah and a sister in Arkansas and a sister in Tennessee, and then we moved my mom shortly after my dad passed. And those are the people that I think about, right? If you and I went to a family reunion, right? And right, both sides of the family are there, aunts and uncles, cousins, siblings, right? How many people are struggling with their health? And most importantly, what impact can we make? This is why I share this. I've only got a few more minutes and then I've got to hop off, but are there any questions that I can address while I'm on this live? And thank you again to everyone who is tapping the screen, who is sharing this, forwarding this. I appreciate that. Thank you for the comments and the questions. And thank you again for tuning in this morning. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. If there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know. Okay. Folks, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Make it a beautiful day today. And if there's anything, if you guys want to connect, I'm happy to do that. Okay. But I really do appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.